Good afternoon. Welcome everyone to today's webinar, AI Curious to AI Capable, Building Your AI Ready Workforce. We're going to be talking about human-centered strategies, AI training and adoption strategies to help your workforce evolve from AI Curious to AI Capable. My name is Casey Clayton. I've got with me Steve Winter, our Executive Vice President for Sales Strategy and Delivery, Demetrias Rodgers, Planet CTO, and Julie White from our Evolve program as an Evolve 365 program manager. We're going to launch some polls here in just a moment. And as a reminder, this session is recorded. We will be sharing it afterwards. So please take a moment to vote in the polls, and then we will get started.
Casey, thank you very much, and welcome everybody, and good afternoon again. This is Steve Winter, again, the Executive Vice President here at Planet Technologies. We're excited to share some really interesting findings that have come from the 2025 Work Trend Index. Talk a little bit about that, talk about some of the challenges and opportunities around AI adoption, and then show you about how our product, our end user training and adoption service, Evolve 365, through a live demo with Julie, helps to address, some of the challenges that are instantiated in the Work Trend Index, and also some of the opportunities that it presents. So you'll see that in action in a live demo. Hopefully you guys had the chance to jump into the poll question around the Work Trend Index. I'm just curious, by a raise of hands, on the teams, who's actually had a chance to read the Work Trend Index? Well, if you haven't, I would highly recommend that you do so. This is something that's put out that Microsoft is involved in on a yearly basis, and it really highlights through around the entire world, spanning multiple industries, how technologies are being adopted, how transformational technologies are being adopted, how modern work technologies are being adopted, the opportunities they're presenting, the improvements that they're showing, and then some of the challenges that are being presented by them. There's some links here. Certainly, I recommend as a follow-on to this webinar that you go ahead and take a look at that. Really interesting insights this year. One of the things, of course, is why does AI readiness actually matter? So here's the thing, folks. We've all heard this comment, shadow IT. Well, 100%, there's shadow AI. It's happening right now in everybody's environment. So who doesn't have Gemini or Copilot or ChatGPT or somebody's version of that, Grok or something, that's right now on their mobile device that they're using, as a absolute, if worst case, I mean, at worst case, but best case, a search engine, an advanced search engine, maybe even something more. So AI is here. Our end users are using it in some capacity. In most cases, of course, they're bringing their own tools, right? So look at that. 75% are using it at work today. 78% of them are using their own tools. That leaves that very few of those tools are being provided today by the organizations that they work for. And of course, end users are concerned to show that they're actually using AI to support the work that they're actually doing, or they're even concerned of actually using it. And there's lots of reasons why, right? Job security is one of them. Security concerns are another, and there's many other reasons why I'm moving forward. This is really important. Again, AI is here. It's on your end users' devices, and they are using it in some capacity to drive their work. So then we say, if we accept the premise right now, which has been proven by the data, that AI exists and it's in our environments today, why is it so important to then define and drive AI readiness? Well, okay, so it's in our environment. How do we make sure that we're getting the most of it, right? So we want our people to become more efficient. The days of talking about do more with less are over. The days are actually here where we actually do have to do more with less. Budgets are being constrained, and we're looking for ways to do that. Well, we have AI in place. They just don't know how to use it. Our end users simply just don't know how to use it to define work, to do better with their work, to be more efficient with their work. And also, back to the first slide, there's some fear around using it, again, whether that's security related, jobs related, or otherwise. There is some deadlines out there, which is that there's some strong beliefs, and this is highlighted and instantiated inside of the survey. There's some high belief by leaders that 2025 is a critical timeline for organizations to get their arms around AI before it actually does become fully embraced and fully out there in the wild. And we absolutely cannot ignore AI because, again, it's in our environment. It's in our workplace today. Demetrius, I don't know if you have anything you want to add on this slide.
No, I agree with your comment. It's a make or break year for AI. And all the conversations I'm having is people are focused on enablement of AI and the capability at an organizational level, but they're not understanding, how are they going to actually implement it and get it out across the board. So those conversations are continuing, and all the points that you just called out are 100% in line with what I was going to say.
Yeah, I'm pretty interesting right now. I'm going to make an assumption that most people that are joining us today from a webinar have a lot of Microsoft in their environment. If you're in a commercial cloud today, you have the opportunity to leverage at no cost Copilot chat, which is the free version of Microsoft Copilot. For those who are in a government cloud, GCC, that's going to become available here shortly. Supposedly, it's supposed to become available towards the end of June, early July. This means that anybody you have that has an M365 license is going to have access through their work through the free version of Copilot Chat. So again, like, it's in our environment, or it's going to be in our environment. How do we make the most of it? How do we do it securely? How do we make sure that our organization is driving governance and driving the uses of it? So then the trend index, and as well as Planet's own experience, has really highlighted these four critical areas that are really, defining the readiness gap. Um, you know, there's a notion out there. Oh, thank you, Naveen. I didn't see it went live today. They've been dancing around the topic. Well, so I will tell you, if I can do a quick highlight here, we're going to be offering here in late June, we're going to be offering free end user training, an hour-long free end user training for Copilot Chat. So look for that announcement and that advertisement. So when we look at AI readiness gap, there are four reasons that the study highlights that Planet has found as well with our customers, and we look at what is that gap. Obviously, an unprepared workforce. So we make an assumption that everybody's using it and everybody uses it, therefore they know how to use it and they know how to get the most of it, because we're using it as an advanced search engine. Like literally today, I said, hey, hey, Chat GPT, what sandwich should I get at Potbelly because of these reasons? And it gave me some great answers and some quick answers. And so just because I know how to do that, does that actually mean that I know how to use it for work? And especially in the notion of a non-corporate sponsored AI? Well, of course, the answer to that is no. But even in a corporate sponsored AI, how do we want people to use it? What are the use cases that we want them to use that drive their work, that actually drive efficiencies? What does that look like? And then, of course, we talk about overwhelming workloads. Again, the report says that 80% of the global workforce reports lacking the time or energy to do current responsibilities, let alone their ability to learn anything new. We cannot assume that just because they do it on their phone and they know how to search something on the phone, they're going to be able to automatically pick up something that drives efficiencies, that drives the use cases that we want to do, whether that's generative AI or really looking forward into, AI and agents and agentic AI. Of course, there is a lot of fear around, some of it justifiable, but a lot of fear around AI. Do I trust it? Is it secure? Is everything that I put into that being seen by my employer? Is it going to replace my job? Like, all of these things are trust and fear issues that break the adoption of AI, that make it harder for people to actually do it. And then, of course, 83% of leaders believe it will empower employees to take on more complex tasks. So, of course, that is possibly and likely true because we can remove some of the mundane tasks with AI and we can, again, be more efficient in this. But how does the first three things I mentioned actually affect the fourth? If I'm afraid of AI, if I don't know how to use it appropriately, if I'm already overworked, how am I going to actually expand the box that I'm in and move higher along the box that I currently work in? Demetrius, thoughts?
No, I think you hit that right exactly on the head. I think one of the things that people, I saw a study that said you can take a brand new user and enable them with AI tools, and you can probably get them at about 86% of what a seasoned user would be. But if you take a seasoned user and give them AI tools, you get them in the 98th percentile, right? And so, but you have to actually teach them and give them mechanisms to understand AI, understand the value that it brings to their position, and also understand when and where it's appropriate from a governance perspective.
So curious. I don't know how many poll results we got. So again, with a raise of hands right now, with Copilot Chat, thank you, Naveem, again, with Copilot Chat coming out today, how many people's organizations are planning on deploying Copilot Chat before the end of the summer? All right,
Couple.
fantastic. Thank you. Definitely something to look at. All right, so let's dive deeper into those workforce challenges. 40% of employees feel comfortable leveraging AI tools. That means 60% don't.
Mhm.
So let's go back. We look at that initial statistic. Over 70% of folks are actually have it on their devices and they're using it for some form of work, but only 40% of them actually feel confident in actually using the tools. That means that there's a humongous gap, again, stopping us from achieving any of the goals, the ROI goals, the efficiency goals that we have in AI. If we don't get our people more comfortable, if we don't get them more educated, if we don't fill that gap, if we don't get them more, confident in the secure nature of it, if we don't get them more confident in the fact that it's ethical and it's not going to replace their jobs, and if we don't help them understand how it can be used to drive their work and do their work better, we're not going to get the adoption that we want. So again, 80% of workers feel overwhelmed with their current workload. How can that be? 80% feel overwhelmed with their workload, tons of trust and fear issues. I mean, is AI going to replace my job? Do I know how to use this technology? Is it secure? Is it ethical? When is the matrix coming? Like these are, things that people are thinking about that's stopping it. And then, uh, 78% of companies, according to the study, are planning on hiring AI specific roles. That doesn't even include the notion of AI as a partner, AI as an employee, which is also something that's happening out there, right? Where people are looking at AI as employees. Like, how can I leverage AI not to replace an employee necessarily, but to, you know, take over an open position or a new role in your organization. So again, this all create fear, uncertainty, and doubt for our employees, and block the adoption of these AI tools. So let's shift the mindset. So we had an internal M365 Copilot conversation here at the beginning, at last fall, as we were turning our fiscal year, and the gentleman who runs one of our organizational change management practices said, the most important thing, and what we're telling all our customers all the time is, you have to practice. You have to practice. And we want our users to constantly be touching the tools in use cases that matter to them, that matter to their work. We don't care whether or not they use AI tools to find out what potbelly sandwich they want. We do, in fact, however, we care passionately that they're using it in ways that benefit our organization and benefit them looking at their job. And we have to drive practice. Not practice on the things that they can do in shadow AI, not practice in obvious searches, but how do they actually dig deep into the AI in order to drive better outcomes for the work? Embrace safe failures. It's okay to not get the results that we want. It's okay for us to have some failed prompts or fail innovation as long as it's done in a safe and secure way. And we want to 100% celebrate those people that are out there pushing the envelope in a safe way to drive their curiosity, to practice, and to move their roles, their efficiency, and our organizations further. Demetrius, thoughts on experimentation?
Well, I was going to touch base on this later, but yes, I mean, I think having the ability for users to experiment with AI, feel free to fail, um, is critically important. I think in most organizations, we have a zero risk or low tolerance for failure, but when it comes to creating a learn it all culture, I think with AI and giving them the environment to do so and to feel safe to do it is going to be critically important as we move forward.
How do we do that? Again, I'm going to make an assumption here that many people on this call represent an IT organization, centralized or otherwise. And how do we do that in an environment that's not governed? Demetrius, like how do we encourage safe exploration in an environment that's not governed? Like I know this particular webinar is really focused on end users and their adoption, but I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about organizational culture.
Yeah, I think leading through leadership is going to be key, right? Because showing them, hey, having the leaders embrace AI, showing them where they leverage AI, showing them, hey, here are the things that we can do, even if it's simple as recording your team meeting or sending out AI summaries of different things that you're doing, showing them that it's okay to be leveraging AI in your environment as long as you've given them some guidelines and publish those. Even if you don't have a formal governance structure, you can create an environment for them to feel safe. However, one thing that we're going to touch on is being able to give them an environment specifically where they can experiment with AI, regardless if they have a governance platform or not, is going to be something that I would highly encourage, and something I do highly encourage for everyone I speak to as we help people navigate through their AI journey.
We want them to practice. We want them to play. We want them to experiment. We want them to innovate. We want them to be
Yes.
curious. We want them to develop use cases, but we want to make sure we're doing that within the construct of our company's governance and plan. We do not want them taking their work out to shadow AI. We don't want them, submitting our important documents to shadow AI for summaries. We want that
Yes,
done in a way that's sponsored by the company.
absolutely.
So how we view AI. AI won't replace you. Someone using AI will. That's a very impactful statement. I know it's been spread around the internet right now. It's a comment that's coming along, but absolutely, those individuals are going to float to the top that know how to leverage AI, know how to prompt better, are more comfortable with the tools, that know how to do it better. They're gonna float to the top. There's not any question. It's augmenting the work that we're doing, and we need leadership out there that's going to be supportive of AI because it's coming. So Demetrius and I are going to do a little bit of questions and answers here. I think these are some both things that have been exposed and instantiated and brought out by the Work Trend Index, and also some things that we have seen in the wild out there that I think will be very helpful to the organizations and to the folks here on the call. So Demetrius, what is the biggest barrier you see preventing employees from embracing AI? We've talked about a few here already, and how can we overcome them?
So we obviously know that the barrier isn't technology. You talked about users using it on their phones, they're using it for various examples. I think it's primarily trust and understanding, right? A lot of employees don't yet see AI as a tool that empowers their work. They see it as a tool for them to play, for them to do their other things at work. They also see it as a threat to their role inside of the organization. So I think from a leadership perspective, there's three things that we need to do. One, we need to demystify AI. When I say demystify AI, is actually showing them where to start in terms of leveraging AI within their role. Like, for example, most people here are using Copilot. If you're not, that's usually the first interface that they're going to leverage inside the work environment, and showing them, hey, where does this start? But also help clarify what AI's role actually is in their job assignment, right? How is this going to assist me for the things that I do every day by providing some practical examples of those things, right? Again, you touched on it, allowing them to be able to leverage AI without fear of making mistakes, but you can do that based on, approach. And then you say, help them by training them, but offering bite-sized hands-on training capabilities, right? And then making those capabilities visible, relatable, rather than abstract. I think a lot of times we have conversations around AI, but we have them in the abstract. Being able to bring that closer to the users is going to be key. And then the second thing we have to do is build trust through transparency. Show employees how the AI is being leveraged. Show them how they are still and will remain accountable stewards for the outcomes that AI produces. A lot of times, people will take AI, and I have this conversation every day, is they believe because AI said it's 100% accurate. They don't understand that there is a factor and they still are accountable stewards of all the outcomes that generated with AI. And the last thing I'll say is shift the narrative in the conversation and change that narrative from job replacement to mission enhancement. Right? Meaning this is an assistant for you. It's going to help reduce those routine, mundane tasks that you are faced with every single day, help you focus more on meaningful work that's going to benefit the organization in a more meaningful way.
Can I get a T-shirt that says "Accountable Steward"?
Yes,
I'd love to get a T-shirt that says "Accountable Steward." We have folks, we have an internal working group on AI, and I love the title of it. Demetrius, I can love the title of it. We call it Good Chaos, and I want to get a T-shirt that says "Accountable Steward" and Good Chaos on the backside. I think you generally answered this, but I don't know if there's anything you want to add to this one, how leadership can effectively foster a culture that encourages experimentation with AI. I think you addressed that.
I will expand upon it, though. I think you touched on it earlier, Steve, is really it's up to leadership to create the conditions where it's safe to try, to fail, to learn, right? Normalize learning over perfection. Is going to be one of the things that I think that we have to emphasize very early on, that AI use is about flawless exploration, right? You're going to continue to try to leverage those use cases, finding new things, right? So you want to encourage that experimentation, but also modeling the behavior from a leadership perspective. Again, showing the employees where we leverage AI tools in our day-to-day work. Also creating those spaces to test, and then most importantly is clarifying any type of guardrails and purpose for AI. Again, that goes back to some of the earlier discussion we had in terms of being able to show, hey, making sure employees freely understand the boundaries. Hey, using ChatGPT to load up proprietary documentation is not okay, but also what are the guardrails? How do I leverage AI? What are the prompts I need to use in my day-to-day job to do that, and make sure they have a mechanism to do that. So ultimately for this question, I'd say it's about creating a vision, the psychological safety, and a practical enablement of users to be able to leverage AI within your organization.
Fantastic. Demetrius, employees are already busy with their day-to-day tasks, right? We already talked about that 80%. What are some effective ways to integrate AI learning and adoption into their workflow without adding burden? So this is actually a critical question that really an answer that I think everybody really needs to pay attention to. So we're already overworked. We have fears about AI. Management might be forcing us to use this or using for licensing, or they want us to justify every minute of every dollar spent and see that ROI. And here they come in with a new thing. how would you address this? How does AI learning and adoption work into their daily
So,
lives?
so I love this because this question actually gets to the heart of AI adoption within the organization, right? The key is to show the employees how to embed AI into the flow of their work as opposed to something they layer on top of it. Right. And so, you got to help them understand, focus on the identification of those everyday frustrations, those repetitive tasks that they have to do every single day, and show them, hey, how does AI help give them immediate personal value? Because they get that immediate personal value, they're going to continue to come back. But the other thing you have to do is be able to provide just-in-time learning capabilities for them. I think that one of the things that we and most organizations have done throughout time is we create this curriculum, this training path, because we roll a new tool set out and we create this course and we say, go take this course and you're all good. I think here we have to shift that mindset to coaching, not courses. And coaching are those consumable, just-in-time learning capabilities so you're advising them where they can go to be able to get information on their as they need it, when they need it for their everyday day-to-day task. But you also have to be able to pair that learning with doing, right? In terms of, hey, having those champions, being able to share use cases of the week campaigns, types of things, but also identify where you're having early adopters, grab some early adopters, make those early adopters visible and accessible, and be able to share the things that are leading to daily improvements in their lives, because those are the employees that say, their colleagues will say, these are the people that I talk to. They speak my language. They understand it's not at the management layer, and they can actually come in and say, "Hey, this is how we are leveraging AI. Give them that day-to-day guidance is going to help them become better and more fluent of focused on learning AI, right? And so you're integrating that into their everyday lives. And as you see that, you'll see adoption grow, and then you'll see them continue to, your organization will benefit ultimately.
Yeah, important answer there, D, for sure. I want to address Richard's question that he put inside the window, and D, maybe you can hop over to the chat real quick and address it. Yeah, great point, Richard. So this is actually a regular conversation for us internally, and we're actually doing some um, competitive analysis right now against some of the things that are out there in the market. And Microsoft Learn is very interesting for sure. ESI training, those types of things are really interesting because they do, of course, they're free. And Microsoft works very hard to try to make sure that they have, training out there. But to your point, it lacks a flow. They're usually driven in classes, which of course I'm already feeling overworked, and then I got to I'm going to watch a 4 hour virtual class or do a multi-hour training through Microsoft's ESI. And oh, by the way, it probably doesn't directly relate to my work. Right. So it actually doesn't directly relate to my work at all. And it's not just in time. So if I actually need to know how to do something better, whether it be Copilot, which a lot of this is directly related to Copilot, another AI, or quite frankly, Teams or anything else that you're trying to do, I need to know how to do it. I don't know how to do it right now. And then I'm going to go to some ESI portal or Microsoft Learn portal and log in and try to navigate all the way through it. And then I'm going to find it. And then I got to watch a 45-minute or 3 hour or 4 hour class in order to try to figure out how to, like, nobody's doing that. That's just not happening. That's not how we work. That's not how our Instagram driven society works. So it is really a mixture of, yes, there's a progression of classes that we should be looking at, some trainings that we should be looking at, but persona-based training, just-in-time based training, coaching where, I can have access to some help almost immediately, the ability to actually, if I'm calling a help desk, because again, we haven't even talked about how IT is supposed to support these kind of generative tools, but if I'm calling a help desk, so a help desk can actually send me the relevant material to me, I can navigate right to it. These are the things that we're seeing that are really making a difference for our customers, and that again that the trend index also supports, which is we create some sort of baseline that's consumable for our folks inside of a 30 to 60 minute initial sort of baseline classing, and then we're leveling up through on-demand, just-in-time training, through coaching, and through persona-based training, use cases and developing those use cases, consistent adoption, exercising, practice. Like, these are the things that we're seeing the suggestion. Happy to talk more about that, Richard. Just let us know. Reach out and we can kind of have a more direct conversation about what, a plan might look like.
Mhm.
All right. I think this is the last question, D, and then we're going to get to that. I promise you guys a live demo. We're going to get to that live demo. From a technology leader's perspective, how do we measure progress towards an AI-ready workforce? What metrics or science indicate that our workforce is becoming more AI capable?
I think it's about three things, and I'm gonna ponder for a moment. Building confidence, building competence, and building capacity, right? I think those are the three things that we have to focus on. So when you start talking about, hey, how do I measure these things? I think number one, you got to look at the adoption and the flow of work, right? What are you tracking? What percentage of employees are actively leveraging the approved AI tools that you have in your environment? Microsoft Copilot, you can measure that through use of telemetry, right? Adoption should actually also reflect actual utility as opposed to I'm just leveraging it because I like to do it. It's most employee return actually because it actually saves them time and it drives improved results. And so that's the one thing that you measure, right? And then the second thing is the skills and confidence growth. Again, we're going to touch on this a little bit. We're going to see some live demos on that, but this is just as important because you want to be able to see who in the organization is actually leveraging AI, what role-based learning journeys are they taking, what kind of micro courses are they taking, what they're focused on, but also being able to survey your users to understand their employee comfort with the tools that you provide, the AI concepts, again, that change champion, any peer-led knowledge sharing sessions. I think it's important to focus on the fact that a true AI workforce isn't just trained, it's also curious, right? And you are feeding that curiosity by making sure that they have the ability and to continue to experiment. And then thirdly, I think innovation and impact, right? We are having a business conversation here. And so we have to look at the number of new AI use cases that are being proposed or piloted by different business units, by different departments. Are there any documented time savings, error reduction, service delivery? Again, hey, what kind of KPIs am I tracking here from an AI adoption perspective? The case closure rates, response times dropping, whatever the case is. Capability actually becomes value when employees use AI to solve the business problems that you hire them to solve, right? Not just test out new features and this thing is cool. I've always said we don't do IT because it's cool. We do it to drive business.
Good chaos, D. Good chaos.
Good chaos, Steve. So with all the things we talked about, is we get to the fact of introducing Evolve 365. Now, Evolve 365, what is it? You're probably asking yourself. Some of you may be familiar with it, some of you may not be. So what Evolve 365 is a systematic approach to AI adoption acceleration, right? This serves as the accelerator that we talked about to help your users transition from AI curious to AI capable. It gives them a tool for continuous learning support. This platform offers the ongoing learning opportunities and support to ensure that users are well equipped to support the Microsoft tools around AI specifically in your environment, right? So your Microsoft tools and AI, but also being able to act as a training engine. So they don't have to go ask people. It's self-accessible. They're able to get information quickly. They're able to upskill to say, hey, I want to learn about this. I want to learn about that. They're able to practice on prompts. They're able to get familiar with the things that are, we have a persona-based training activity in there where they can say, hey, this is what I do. How can I leverage AI to do that? And they may be too ashamed to ask that question to their boss. They can go here and ask those questions. So what are some of the key features of it, right? You're talking about it. I think it's important to know that it's more than just a platform. It also includes expert-led training. So we have real-time classes with Microsoft certified experts that are here to help tailor the training necessary for your success to your need, right? There's also a vast video library, which I think is excellent and and I wish I would have saw this well before I started working at Planet, because I leveraged it in a number of different capacities. But there's over 100,000 on-demand how-to videos and tutorials to allow users to do self-paced learning, right? To be able to say, hey, I don't care if it's 9 o'clock at night, I don't care if it's 6:30 in the morning, I'm thinking about this thing, I need to go figure it out. And by the way, I don't want to take an hour-long course to do it. I want to figure it out in 2 minutes, because that's the time I have. Typically, when I answer a question, anybody that knows me know I like fast answers and I ask questions very rapidly. So I want to get to the answer and response quickly. This allows you to do that. Customized learning paths. Hey, my learning curriculum, my training curriculum for my employees need to be very specific. I want to set certain, again, talking about the thing that Steve mentioned earlier around, hey, I want to have specific AI roles. I may want to create a pathway to those roles for my users that I have internally versus as opposed to bringing in all new people. Not to say you're not going to bring in some new folks, right? But whatever your choice is, if you want to create a customized learning path for your employees, you have the ability to do so. This also includes one-on-one end user coaching. And then again, you can't monitor what you can't measure. So metrics and analytics is just is key here. You can actually utilize dashboards to track user adoption. If you want to be able to say, hey, before you get access to AI, you need to take this initial course. Before you get any type of license or you get access to any of the AI tools we have, you can actually make sure they've done that before you assign them licenses. And you can not only track their course completion, but you can also track how they progress in their skill sets as they make their way through their AI learning journey. So I talked about the learning strategists, right? The human-based services, right? Their goal is actually to ensure that your users have everything they need to successfully work with Copilot, Microsoft 365, whether you're talking about helping create content, or you're talking about, hey, we need you to host this webinar for our entire organization or single department. We want to create these learning campaigns. I need to understand what learning plans look like. Hey, what type of guidance do you have? What are you seeing across this customer base in this particular segment? And we will work with you and your team to create all of these different things to make sure that your success is not hindered because you're left to figure it out on your own.
And I would also point out here that we deliver promptathons on a regular basis through that, and of course that prompting logic and that prompting skill set is going to be pervasive throughout any of your AI tools. So as you start evaluating and developing use cases, when you start evaluating and developing use cases, pretty quickly you're going to find out that the desktop Copilot, we're going to want to do things that open up OpenAI, that open up AI agents, agentic scenarios. That's going to happen as you develop those use cases. That prompting capability and that prompting skill and that mastering of promptings that's going to come through the webinars, through other coaching materials is going to benefit all of those tool sets.
Absolutely. Whether you're using Copilot for personal productivity, or whether you create an AI agent or enterprise AI app with a GUI, they need to know how to interact with that application or that AI agent to get what the information they need, and they know how to prompt they will learn how to properly prompt for the information they need, so they don't have to re-ask the same questions.
It's great.
So,
oh my gosh, is it demo time? It's demo time, Julie.
It's demo time. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Julie White to give us a demo.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. So this is our Evolve 365 platform. This site has been customized for Copilot specifically. And so we're highlighting a lot of content around Copilot and how to use it in the apps. We do have content on all of the Microsoft 365 products, whether it's involving Copilot or not. So this demonstration will focus on the Copilot content, but we have pretty much anything that you can think of for the Microsoft stack. This is a fully customizable interface here, so we can highlight content and we can surface information on this homepage that is most relevant to your users at at any given time. So what we typically like to do is, especially when we're starting off with Copilot readiness or AI readiness, we want to make sure that we're starting from the foundation and moving into more and more of the productivity tools. So at first, we might highlight some getting started information and point users directly to how to prompt, how to be effective with data analysis, or some of those personas that we see inside of our workforce. And then as time moves on, the learning strategist will recommend and highlight new content on the homepage so that it's easily accessible to your users if they're coming to the portal to self-learn. And then the learning strategist is going to target those users in your organization, typically by persona or role inside, especially with the Copilot content, so that we can put information about those tools in front of the user and it be relevant to their job and day-to-day business processes. The library of content will show us all of the information that's active, or all of the training content that's active in the site. This is like turning light switches on and off so we can actually focus the training to the specific topics that you want your users to focus on. We can turn on content later if that's of need. It's kind of something that we can build upon, or we can have it open so that folks can self-learn at their own pace. I'm going to pop into our Copilot subject. This is where all of our Copilot content is housed. And we do offer a few different ways to learn. So again, if I'm self-learning, I'm coming to the portal, I can actually pick places to start. Maybe I don't know anything and I'm going to start with these guided learning paths. And maybe I do know that I want to learn how to use Copilot in Edge, or Copilot for Windows, or Copilot in Outlook. And I can start there with the individual app that I'm actually trying to work with. Or maybe I want to pick some personas and have a self-paced training that is accessible to me that is really focused on my job role. Now, there are hundreds of pre-built skill tracks, we call them, inside of Evolve, but we can actually build these as well, and we encourage that. It's really important that these roles or personas really mimic or reflect the roles inside your organization, and that's going to be different from agency to agency. But there are some that are going to be pretty consistent: finance, marketing, project management. And so we've put a lot of those together with those foundational training information so that we can get folks started in that Copilot space, get them curious, and then hopefully start to share more and more information with those folks, either through our live trainings or through some of our other human services like coaching and other skill tracks or courses that we can offer. Let me click on one of these for you so you can see how these are structured. Let that load for a second. There we go. So this is going to be a training course that's focused on the finance and showcasing different ways to use Copilot in that particular role or within that particular persona in terms of the apps that they use the most. Now, Excel is one of those things that either folks know a lot about it, they know enough to be dangerous, like myself, or they know nothing about it. And so Copilot can help in a lot of different levels as well. If we're an advanced user of Excel, let's learn how to do data visualization, or let's learn how Power BI can help us instead of just using Excel. And if we're foundational, or like myself, just dangerous enough, we can learn more formulas to help us get to the information that we're actually looking for. The other thing that we offer are a couple of different ways to engage with our learning strategists inside of the Evolve 365 site. One of those is our coaching calendar. This is a space where our coaches can put availability on the calendar, and your users can select that availability. Here, let me see here. There we go. And then choose a coach, set up some time, and that will trigger an email to the coach, and they will set up a Teams meeting with your user. And then we can have a one-on-one discussion or a group discussion, depending on how many folks want to come. And we're going to ask that the user put in the process topic so that we can quickly get to the simpler side
as well as the more complex side. It's a fairly industry.
Sorry, we have a mute issue there. Okay, great. So that we can quickly get to the answer that that user needs, whether that's going to be around SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, utilizing Copilot in Teams. Maybe we want to learn how to put our meeting notes directly into a OneNote notebook, those kinds of things. The other way to engage with the learning strategist directly from the Evolve site is going to be from our training calendar. This is actually a space where we're going to post all of our training events, much like this one today, onto the calendar. This could be one a month, this could be 10 a month, 20 a month. We could have things going on every day with your organization if we need to. And what it's going to do is offer the user the capability to enroll or register for live sessions that are of interest to them. Again, maybe folks are interested in certain applications and maybe training for those apps. Maybe they need to upskill in Copilot and they can choose which webinars to attend. But this will give them an outline of what that training session is going to look like and an opportunity to register or join the meeting depending on what type of Teams meeting we have set up there. The other great thing about this is it gives users one URL that we can share with users in email campaigns or live sessions so that folks can come here and see what's coming for the month or in the coming months. What's nice about having one URL is that even the internal meetings or internal trainings, maybe HR is hosting some things, maybe IT is hosting some things, you can put all of those things on this calendar as well. Your users will see what's going on in the organization and be able to join those effectively. Now, there are a lot of other capabilities in terms of reporting and things of that nature. So I'm not sure where we are, Steve. If you'd like me to showcase that, I certainly can, or we can pop back into our presentation and keep moving.
Yeah, go ahead, Julie. I think people would like to see it for sure.
Perfect. Let me get that popped up. Now I've got our reports from our Planet Technologies Evolve 365 site open. I wanted to start with our Microsoft 365 reporting. This is the most interesting, the most relevant, and one of the most important ways that we can show ROI or return on investment for the different applications that we're offering to our users. We want to be able to look at adoption and say we are seeing an increase in adoption for the different applications that our users have access to. This also now includes Copilot, and so we can see different dates and how much activity we are using. There are a few different types of reports that we're pulling in, and it's never going to show any PII or personal information. We want to keep that as safe as possible, but it helps the learning strategist know what recommendations to make based on training, learning plans, and opportunities to help users grow in certain areas. One of the other things that we do is dig into those usage reports by showcasing the different types of collaboration or communication that folks are doing inside of each app. This also does now include AI assistance, where we can pull that Copilot usage and see what types of things folks are doing. This is at a very high level, again, showcasing usage in the apps, not necessarily trying to target what an individual user is doing. We can do that in the M365 Admin Center and make sure that that information stays private and secure. But we do have opportunities to kind of dig through this based on your Active Directory departments and things like that. And the last report in this space that I want to mention is our adoption reports. This actually smashes those together in terms of what is happening in the Evolve 365 training portal and your Microsoft 365 apps. And typically what we're going to see is folks who are licensed in M365 and taking training in Evolve will likely be using the applications more, and we will see that adoption grow. Now, if I scroll down to our Copilot adoption, here at Planet Technologies, we aren't able to get a Copilot license unless we take an extensive Copilot or AI, understanding AI and the best practices for using Copilot skill track inside of Evolve. So most all of our users who are utilizing AI will have been trained in some capacity, and that can be true for your agencies as well. We do offer the capability to publish skill tracks as mandatory or suggested, depending on the need. Those compliance skill tracks offer certificates of completion, a little bit of gamification with badges of completion, and we do offer a leaderboard so folks can kind of see where they are in that training schema, excuse me. Now our main dashboard is going to start showcasing the content inside of the Evolve 365 site. So now we're looking at overall usage of the training platform. And so again, with those Microsoft 365 usage reports integrated inside of Evolve, we start to be able to make those correlations between training and adoption. But if all we need to do is take a high level look at what folks are doing, we can certainly do that. And we can actually look at individual users and see what their view history is, utilize that for maybe continuing education credits, things of that nature. And we can also look at those skill tracks and make sure that we can see who is enrolled, where they are in progress, and who is completed, what date they completed, those types of things. All right. I think that's the high level here. I'll go ahead and pop back to our slide deck.
Does anybody have any questions about the demo that Julie just shared? We're happy to address them. Okay, terrific.
So,
hey, Julie, why does take us to the next slide? Why does Evolve 365 work?
So many reasons. Evolve 365 works because we're putting information in front of the user, as you mentioned earlier, in their day-to-day work. We have opportunities to integrate Evolve 365 directly into Teams. So as we're working in the Teams app, we can actually get to training without leaving that space. That's true for the M365 online portal as well. We can put it in the app launcher. And then we are also focusing information to specific users, organizations, or personas. So Evolve works because we're customizing it to the organization and making sure that it doesn't have any of the extra fluff. We're getting directly to what needs to be covered and showcasing how these tools can improve productivity in our day-to-day lives.
That's great. And then Demetrius, I think the next slide, I believe, talks about how it addresses, those four of the primary gaps.
Absolutely. So a lot of things that we talked about at the start of the call, right? So Evolve actually helped close the knowledge gap, as Julie just talked about, making sure that all the employees are familiar enough with their tools, or they can get familiar at their own pace so no one's left behind, right? And then you get the ability to have that hands-on practice to support them and feeling safe and confident, the things that we talked about earlier today as well, about reducing that fear, increasing their confidence of how I can effectively leverage this to do my job, my day-to-day job, as opposed to asking about my recipe that I saw on Instagram the other day, right? And then being able to boost productivity quickly, right? By saying, hey, here are the things that I need to understand. I actually understand how to interact with the AI tool sets I have access to be able to drive their productivity. And then once they start seeing the benefit of that in their day-to-day, they're going to continue to come back. They're going to want to go further with their engagement of these tools. And also being able, then you want to track, you want to measure success. You want to be able to go back to whatever stakeholder you have to do and say, hey, we are seeing return on investment, whatever investment we made. Here's what we're seeing from a user productivity standpoint that you can tie into other KPIs to start measuring business value. And so Evolve addresses a lot of the things, if not everything that we talked about, with the exception of some other data points that it will integrate with to be able to help you become AI ready and AI capable.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Demetrius. Thank you, Julie. I know we've pushed up here. We've given you guys 55 minutes of what we hope and we're sure is excellent information around challenges that you're either facing right now or will face looking out into the future. Just to round this up, I think it's super clear to recognize that there is an absolute skills gap and a confidence gap. The Work Trend Index, again, Andrew Kagan was kind enough to plop that into the chat as the very first chat of this. You can link directly to it to read what those findings findings are. There's no question, based on the results that we've seen in the market, not just since Copilot was launched, but even before that, that our Evolve 365 platform and the mixture of human services and technology capabilities actually bridges that gap in a meaningful way that's going to help organizations, not just with M365 Copilot, not just with Copilot, but looking forward to AI broadly. We really thank you for your time. I'm going to head and put my email address, Demetrius's email address, and our info alias. If you have any questions whatsoever, we are here. For those that have worked with us before, you should know we're not and you know this, I think, we're not a strong arm sales organization. We really are value driven. We want to make sure we're providing value to you and developed into a long-term relationship. So don't feel like you can't email. If I email, they're going to kill me with a bunch of sales barrages. Thank you, Demetrius, for correcting your spelling of your name. Please reach out. I will also give a pitch to a free webinar that Demetrius delivers around the decision matrix of how to figure out what AI tools are right for the right challenge. That's an hour-long presentation that he delivers to your organization if you're interested as well. If you're interested in a one-on-one demo, Julie and her team can 100% do that. We hope to hear from you. Thank you all so much for your time. Demetrius, Julie, great job. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.